genuinely could not afford to pay the rent on his apartment. Then he somehow convinced the entire world that he had invented a new kind of company. By doing something as old as commerce itself, renting office space to people. SoftBank, Japan's largest technology investor, valued the company at $47 billion. Then reality arrived, as it always does, and it arrived with considerable force. The planned IPO collapsed completely before a single share was ever publicly sold. The valuation fell from $47 billion to under $10 billion in just 8 weeks. And Neumann personally walked away from the ruins with $1.7 billion. Let's rewind. Adam Neumann was born in 1979 in Tel Aviv, in the state of Israel. His childhood was genuinely unstable, and his family moved from place to place constantly. He lived for a period on a kibbutz, and then moved to the United States as a teenager. He eventually enrolled at the Zicklin School of Business in New York City. He did not complete his degree, and left before finishing the program. He attempted several entirely different businesses in New York before WeWork, including a collapsible women's high heel and baby clothing with built-in knee pads. Neither product became anything particularly notable or commercially successful. But Neumann possessed something that compensated entirely for the failed products. He had extraordinary personal charisma and an almost magnetic, overwhelming energy. People who met Neumann described leaving meetings convinced of things they hadn't believed before. He was physically tall, he spoke in grand visions, and he was always barefoot. Always barefoot, at every meeting, in every office, for reasons he made sound spiritual. He told absolutely everyone he spoke to that he wanted to change the entire world. And he delivered that line with a conviction that made it sound genuinely believable. In 2008, Neumann was actively struggling to pay rent on his Soho loft apartment. He had moved in with a specific plan to sublet floors of the building for profit. In that same building, he met his future co-founder, Miguel McKelvey. Together, the two of them founded WeWork in the year 2010. The core idea behind WeWork was genuinely simple. Remarkably, truly simple. Sign long-term leases on large commercial office buildings at wholesale rates. Subdivide the space into smaller individual offices, shared desks, and common areas. Rent those smaller subdivided spaces to startups, freelancers, and small companies. At a meaningful markup over the original long-term lease cost you are paying. This is called arbitrage. It is one of the most ancient business models on earth. Landlords have been doing the exact same thing for profit across literally centuries. What Neumann added to this ancient model was specifically the word community, and collaboration, and energy, and consciousness, and many more words like these. WeWork spaces all featured beer taps, exposed brick walls, and meditation rooms. They were designed to feel like Silicon Valley startups rather than ordinary office parks. Neumann explicitly positioned WeWork as a technology company above everything else, not a real estate company. Definitely not a landlord of any conventional description. A technology platform specifically designed to enable and support human connection. This distinction matters enormously for one very specific and important reason. Real estate companies are typically valued at 10 to 15 times their annual earnings. Technology companies are routinely valued at 30, 50, or even 100 times earnings. If investors believe you are a tech company, the entire valuation math changes completely. Neumann was extraordinarily good at convincing investors of exactly this framing. WeWork expanded at extraordinary speed throughout the early 2010s. It grew from a single location in 2010 to hundreds of locations around the world. Venture capital poured into the company. Investors loved the story. The future of work had arrived. Traditional offices were supposedly finished. WeWork was the future. Its valuation climbed from $1 billion to $5 billion, then to $10 billion. Then everything changed. Masayoshi Son, the founder and CEO of SoftBank, entered the story. Sun had already become legendary for his early investment in Alibaba. He was known for making enormous bets with incredible speed. In 2017, Sun flew to meet Adam Neumann. Their meeting reportedly lasted only 12 minutes. After those 12 minutes, SoftBank committed $4.4 billion at a $20 billion valuation. Just 12 minutes. Sun continued investing, pushing WeWork's valuation even higher. He reportedly told Neumann that in a battle, the crazier side always wins. SoftBank eventually invested more than $10 billion into WeWork. By January 2019, the company was valued at $47 billion. It became one of America's most valuable startups. But underneath the excitement, WeWork was losing enormous amounts of money. For every dollar it earned, it spent about $2. In 2018 alone, the company lost $1.9 billion, while generating only $1.8 billion in revenue. Profitability wasn't even close. The company was burning investor money faster than it could ever earn it. In August 2019, WeWork filed its S-1 prospectus with the Securities and Exchange Commission. An S-1 is the official document every company must file before offering shares to the public. It was supposed to introduce WeWork to public market investors. Instead, it introduced the world to Adam Neumann himself. The filing included WeWork's official corporate mission. It read, "To elevate the world's consciousness." Those were the actual words, written in the public filing of a company whose main business was renting office space. Public market investors immediately had questions, lots of them. The S-1 revealed details that private investors had largely overlooked. It showed that Neumann personally owned buildings that WeWork was leasing. He was collecting rent from the very company he ran as CEO. The filing also revealed that Neumann had personally trademarked the word "we." He then sold that trademark back to WeWork for $5.9 million. In other words, he sold his own company the right to use its own name. The filing also revealed a dual-class share structure. Neumann controlled 20 votes for every one share he owned, meaning he would keep effective control even after the company became public. It also revealed that he had borrowed hundreds of millions of dollars using his WeWork shares as collateral. Much of that money went into his own real estate purchases and personal investments. Then investors saw the financial numbers. In 2018 alone, WeWork had lost $1.9 billion, and those losses were accelerating. Public investors quickly reached the same conclusion. This company simply was not worth $47 billion. Some questioned whether it was even worth $20 billion. Behind the branding, this looked like a real estate company pretending to be a technology company, and it was losing roughly $2 for every dollar it earned. In September 2019, the IPO was officially postponed, just 5 weeks after filing the S-1. After the failed IPO, WeWork's valuation collapsed almost overnight. New investors were only willing to value the company at around $10 billion. Some believed it was worth even less. At the same time, WeWork was burning through cash at an alarming rate. Without the money from the IPO, the company urgently needed emergency funding just to survive. The board of directors came under enormous pressure, and eventually, they turned against Adam Neumann. In October 2019, he was officially removed as CEO, just 9 years after co-founding the company. The same board that had supported him for years had now voted him out. SoftBank had already invested more than $10 billion. Rather than let WeWork collapse immediately, it stepped in with a rescue package. The bailout totaled roughly $9.5 billion. But it came with one major condition. Adam Neumann had to leave, and he wasn't leaving empty-handed. His exit package was worth approximately $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion. For the founder of a company that had just experienced one of the most dramatic corporate collapses in modern history, Neumann walked away wealthier than before the crisis began. SoftBank's investors were far less fortunate. So were WeWork's employees. Around 2,400 workers lost their jobs after the collapse. Many had accepted lower salaries because they believed their stock options would eventually make them wealthy. Instead, those shares lost most of their value. WeWork finally became a public company in 2021, but it didn't go public through a traditional IPO. Instead, it merged with a SPAC. Its new valuation was about $9 billion, a dramatic fall from its $47 billion peak just 2 years earlier. Even after going public, the company continued losing enormous amounts of money. The underlying business had never been fixed. Then, in November 2023, WeWork filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the United States, just 13 years after the company was founded, and only 3 years after finally reaching the public market. Meanwhile, Adam Neumann wasn't finished. He submitted a bid to buy WeWork back out of bankruptcy. The bankruptcy court and the company's creditors rejected his offer. Soon afterward, Neumann launched a brand new startup called Flow. The company focused on rental housing. Andreessen Horowitz invested $350 million into the business. That investment valued Flow at more than $1 billion before it had a single customer. And what was Flow's big idea? Rent apartments. Then add a layer of community on top. If that sounds familiar, it should. WeWork's collapse was different from most corporate disasters. There was no massive accounting fraud, no fake revenue. The losses were real. The offices were real. Every lease was real. What wasn't real was the story built around the business. A traditional landlord company was successfully sold as a revolutionary technology platform. A money-losing expansion strategy was marketed as a mission to change the world. Clear conflicts of interest were reframed as proof of a visionary founder's commitment. That story worked remarkably well, until public investors demanded real numbers. The moment the S1 exposed the financial reality, the narrative fell apart. The difference between Adam Neumann's story and WeWork's actual business was worth roughly $37 billion. And that's the power and the danger of a story that becomes more valuable than the business itself.
If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more finance disasters, market crashes, and billion-dollar mistakes that changed history. The next one is even crazier.